no idea what that was. But this might look like a sleepy colonial town. However, beneath its heart lies an unbroken indigenous legacy. So welcome to Panchimalco.
Before we begin, I want to extend my sincere gratitude to some truly extraordinary supporters. Carol, Laura, Terry, Karen, and Will, ×2. I remembered. Your generosity and encouragement help make these adventures possible, and I am profoundly thankful for your continued support. Last week's top comment came from SG. One of my greatest goals is to bring history to life in a way that is both informative and engaging. So it means a great deal when someone recognizes the care and effort that goes into that process. Thank you for your thoughtful words and encouragement. And to everyone who continues to share your thoughts, thank you as well. I read every comment and they mean more than you know. Please keep them coming. I've started a channel membership. If you're interested, click subscribe and then join for more details.
I have finally made it to the Devil's Door, and I almost quit multiple times because not only are we really high up here, I don't even have reception on my phone, but parking is an absolute nightmare. I had to go back and forth multiple times until finally a parking space opened up, and that was just sheer luck that it happened. And I tried to back into it and everybody's honking at me behind me and it's causing a traffic jam. One of the traffic police had to come over and help because it was a narrow spot for an SUV. But anyway, I'm here and I'm glad I didn't give up because this is 100% worth it.
La Puerta del Diablo in Los Planes de Renderos is one of El Salvador's most striking natural destinations, renowned for its dramatic rock formations and sweeping mountain scenery. At its heart rises El Chulo Hill, a mountain whose split appearance gives the impression that it was cleaved in two, creating the site's iconic and unforgettable silhouette. From its heights, visitors are rewarded with panoramic views stretching across mountains, valleys, and distant landscapes, with trails winding through the terrain and offering different perspectives along the way. Yet, beneath its beauty lies a more somber history. Local legend intertwines the site with the tale of María Renderos, while more recent history marks it as a place associated with suffering during the Salvadoran Civil War. Even so, time has transformed the space, allowing the country to reclaim and redefine it as a place of gathering, exploration, and appreciation. Today, one of its most captivating features is a beautiful multi-level overlook with transparent flooring suspended above the landscape, an ideal setting for photographs and breathtaking views. Visitors may admire the scenery from ground level or continue upward for even more dramatic vantage points. Food vendors, souvenir stands, and activities such as ziplining add to the experience. Though, there is one thing worth noting in advance. Weekends are immensely popular. I happened to arrive on a Sunday, and the parking situation was an adventure in itself. Cars lined the roadside for what felt like an endless distance, stretching at least a mile away, as though half the country had collectively decided that this was exactly where they wanted to be.
The Devil's Door overlooks a tiny, sleepy little town called Panchimalco, which has actually got an interesting indigenous history. This is one of the last places that the indigenous people of El Salvador escaped the Spanish. Obviously, the Spanish kept coming. They would not stop. but for the longest time, Panchimalco was the place where all of the indigenous people could still live their lives in peace.
Panchimalco and this mountain are simply too famous to come here and not tell a story. As always, thank you to Timeless Stories of El Salvador for the inspiration. In the early years of the 18th century, a man named Rosendo Renderos arrived in El Salvador from Spain, bringing with him his only child, Maria, a radiant young woman of 18. Always dressed in purple with flowing black hair and eyes that shimmered like polished amber, Maria's beauty quickly became the subject of whispers and wonder across the region. Renderos, a man of substantial wealth, purchased fertile lands near the village of Panchimalco, where he built a grand estate. With the labor of many hands, he established thriving plantations that brought prosperity to the area and respect to his name.
Panchimalco was a small town back then, even smaller than it is today. And the villagers had questions that needed answers. Women gossiped at the market, men gossiped over beer, and answers came, but the truth remained elusive.
The Renderos family had known more sorrow than most. Back in Spain, Renderos' wife, Maria's mother, had succumbed to a long and mysterious illness, the kind that baffles physicians and steals life by degrees. No remedy soothed her suffering. No diagnosis ever came. The family could do nothing but bear witness as she withered day by day, until the silence left in her absence became a second grief. Some years later, tragedy returned. Maria vanished into the forest one afternoon during the worst storm in centuries. Lightning struck, causing fires that were quickly extinguished by floodwaters. No one could remember a time they'd gone this long without the sun. Maria did not return. Days stretched into weeks. Her father spared no expense, hiring trackers and combing every ravine, every path, every shadowed glade. At last, she was discovered in the farthest part of the woods. Once home, Renderos barred the doors and windows, permitting only doctors and priests to cure her delirium. For months, the house was cloaked in silence, save for whispered prayers and the sound of footsteps pacing behind shuttered windows. Something about Maria remained forever altered, like a mirror that no longer reflects quite true. Longing to leave behind the weight of memory, Renderos sought a new beginning. He believed they had found it in Panchimalco, a quiet town, forgotten by time, where the past might loosen its grip, and where, perhaps, the soul could heal.
It wasn't long before the people of Panchimalco planned a great festival to celebrate the season's bounty.
The day bloomed with joy. Men and women dressed in their finest. Music filled the air, and tables overflowed with tamales, pupusas, and sweet atole. Laughter echoed from the plaza to the hills beyond. But as night fell and the final dance stilled, a chilling wind swept through the town. Suddenly, there was a clip-clop sound from an unknown horse and rider. From the darkness emerged a stranger cloaked in black, mounted on a towering black steed with fire eyes. His arrival was quiet but unmistakable. The air turned sharp with the acrid scent of sulfur, and the music died mid-note. With a sudden inhuman speed. The stranger snatched Maria from the crowd before a single voice could cry out.
Then, as swiftly as he came, he vanished into the shadows, galloping toward El Chulo Hill.
Renderos, devastated, fell to his knees and cried into the night. But there was no answer. She was gone. In the days that followed, panic and fear gripped the village. Whispers of the Black Knight spread like wildfire. Some claimed to have seen him among the hill mists. Others swore they heard Maria's cries echoing through the trees. Search parties ventured into the wilds of El Chulo Hill, returning only with the tales of scorched earth, footprints that vanished mid-step, and that haunting, sulfuric scent.
Weeks passed until one day a search party stumbled upon a lonely cabin hidden deep within the folds of the hill.
At long last, there was a sign of life. Through the warped glass of the cabin window, glinting with the last light of dusk, Renderos saw her. Maria. Alive. Still as a statue in the flickering candlelight, her silhouette soft against the adobe wall. Relief surged through him, like thunder in the chest. He turned to the others, men clutching machetes, torches, and crosses, and raised his hand. "Wait here," he commanded. "She's inside." Without another word, he threw open the door and stepped into the heavy stillness of the room. "Maria!" he cried, rushing to her. He grasped her shoulders as if the weight of his hands might anchor her back to him. "Oh, my daughter, I'm so glad you are safe. I'm here now. You're safe. Let's go. We must leave at once." She looked at him, eyes calm, almost ancient. "No," she said. "No, Maria, listen to me." Renderos stared at her. "You're not well, just like before. Whatever happened out there has confused you. I know what's best for you. We have to leave. I'm here to help you." Maria remained still. Her eyes never left his. "I don't need saving, Father. I'm not confused. I'm only finally being honest." His face hardened. "Enough. You're coming with me." He reached for her wrist, but she pulled away and pushed him back with surprising strength. "Did you ever ask why the Black Knight came?" she said quietly. "No. You assumed I was taken." Renderos froze. "I summoned him." "What?" His voice nearly failed him. "Why would you summon such a thing?" "Because I wanted to be free." She stepped back into the candlelight. "You called me sick. You locked me away. You brought doctors and priests to fix me. But you never asked why I left or what I wanted." Her expression remained calm, almost cold. "You did the same to Mother. She lived for you until there was nothing left of her, and you tried to shape me the same way." "But I was trying to protect you," he whispered. "No," Maria said softly. "You were trying to possess me." Silence settled between them. Finally, Renderos said, But I heard you screaming." His voice trembling. Maria looked at him with strange calm. "You were mistaken, Father." A faint smile touched her lips. "I was laughing." Before Renderos could reply, fists pounded the side of the cabin. A panicked searcher stood in the doorway and said, "He's returning. The rider is coming. Renderos turned to Maria, heart thundering. Stay here, no matter what happens. He pulled the heavy wooden door shut behind him and turned to the crowd gathered with torches casting frantic shadows on the trees. He's near, someone said, breathless. In the distance, hooves cracked like thunder over stone. Set the trap, Renderos shouted. The villagers sprang into motion, laying the circle of salt, iron, and obsidian shards. Renderos grabbed a musket and tightened his grip, praying to a god he feared was no longer listening.
That night, the Black Knight returned, walking straight into the snare with a smile carved in shadow.
They attacked him with fury and fire, but their weapons shattered. Ropes snapped like twine. Chains turned to dust in the villagers' hands. Each time he was struck, he rose stronger. To him, they were flies swatting at a storm. And then, as if the bloodshed had been nothing more than a passing amusement, the Black Knight grew weary of the fight. With fluid, inhuman grace, he mounted his fire-eyed steed once more. All around him, the men of Panchimalco lay strewn across the earth, some dead, others gasping in their final moments, and many more writhing in agony, their weapons fallen, their courage shattered. He turned his gaze to Renderos, the only man still standing, albeit barely, leaning on his musket, his face bloodied, his breath ragged. The knight smiled, slow and cruel, a grin carved from scorn. Without a word, he turned toward the cabin and raised a gauntleted hand. The door creaked open. Maria stood in its frame, her face calm, as if she had long awaited this moment. She stepped forward, placed her hand in his, and with one swift motion, he pulled her into the saddle behind him. She clung to him, not out of fear, but with quiet certainty. A broken man now on his knees, Renderos called out to his daughter, but she did not look back. Then the steed reared, its eyes aflame, and the knight spurred it forward. As Renderos watched, frozen in horror and awe, the rider did not slow. With a deafening roar, they charged up the hillside, faster than any mortal beast could run, the ground trembling beneath their hooves.
He crashed into the hillside, but instead of breaking, the rock split. The mountain cleaved cleanly into, as if some ancient wound had reopened.
But the nightmare wasn't over. The earth groaned. Lightning tore across the heavens in wild arcs, painting the sky in violent white. Thunder cracked so loudly it seemed the very air might rip apart. Trees were torn from the soil and hurled like toys. Boulders rumbled down the broken slopes, crushing homes beneath their weight and swallowing streets in dust and ruin. In the space of a breath, the village began to vanish. And, atop the hill, where the knight had disappeared with Maria, only a jagged scar remained, cut deep into the land and deeper still into the memory of Panchimalco. When dawn finally broke through the smoke and dust, the only structure still standing was the church at the heart of Panchimalco, a silent witness to the wrath that had passed.
Those who survived only knew that Maria had been kidnapped, and so the story endures. A father's grief, a daughter powerless to control her fate, and the Black Knight himself riding straight through El Chulo Hill. Even now, the cleft peak looms over Panchimalco like a wound that never healed, some jagged scar etched in both stone and memory. Today, the name El Chulo Hill has been lost. It is now and forevermore La Puerta del Diablo, the Devil's Door.
Panchimalco, whose name means place of shields and flags, is a pre-Columbian town nestled just 11 miles from San Salvador, making it the closest colonial town to the capital. Yet, despite its proximity to the nation's urban heartbeat, Panchimalco remains home to fewer than 50,000 people, preserving the intimacy, warmth, and quiet rhythm of small-town life. Here, color seems woven into the very fabric of the landscape. Art is not confined to galleries. It spills onto the streets, emerging from brightly painted buildings and murals that transform walls into canvases of expression and memory. Even the cemetery, set against breathtaking views, is alive with vibrant hues offering an unexpected blend of beauty and reverence. What truly sets Panchimalco apart, however, is not only its colorful charm, colonial architecture, or cobbled streets, but the depth of its indigenous identity. The town became a refuge for descendants of Pipil and Maya peoples seeking sanctuary from Spanish conquest. Today, Panchimalco remains one of the few enduring strongholds of Amerindian heritage in El Salvador. Though the Nahuatl language has largely faded from daily life, the spirit of the ancestors continues to endure, visible in the vibrant textiles still woven and worn, and in the preservation of traditions that have survived centuries, quietly shaping the identity and rhythm of the community to this day.
Would you visit Panchimalco? Let me know in the comments. And while you're at it, please click the like button since you've made it this far in the video. It helps more than you know.
Like many colonial towns, Panchimalco finds its heart in a central square, where daily life unfolds beneath the quiet watch of a magnificent cypress tree, its broad branches casting gentle shade across cobblestones. Facing the plaza rises the striking whitewashed facade of the Church of Santa Cruz de Roma, the Holy Cross of Rome, a structure whose thick, earthquake-resistant walls have stood resilient through centuries of history. Today, it remains one of El Salvador's most treasured architectural and cultural landmarks.
Constructed in the early 18th century, this venerable church is one of the oldest colonial structures in the country, which is a testament to endurance in a land often shaken by natural forces.
Beyond its doors lies a remarkable sanctuary of history and artistry. The interior preserves intricately carved wooden altars and centuries-old religious paintings that have endured countless earthquakes and the passage of time itself. Cherrywood pews rest upon traditional colonial red brick floors, while the central nave is framed by 16 cherrywood columns set upon stone bases, gracefully separating the main hall from its side aisles. Throughout the church, Spanish Baroque altars add layers of grandeur and devotion, each rich with detail and craftsmanship. Above, the roof curves overhead like the inverted hull of a great ship, creating a sense of movement and shelter, as though the structure itself carries generations of faith across time. At its center, the main altar still retains its original gold finish, glowing as a quiet testament to the artistry and reverence of those who came before. Within these walls, Panchimalco reveals something deeper than architecture alone. It is a place where history has not simply been preserved. It continues to breathe, reminding visitors that some of the most enduring stories are written not only in stone and wood, but in the spirit of the people who continue to keep them alive.
Sometimes you fall, 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 sometimes you fall.
Here's where legend and life collide. The story of the mysterious Black Night involves both a landslide and an earthquake, making it potentially a symbolic retelling of the many cataclysms that have battered this region. Among those was the earthquake of 1736, which left this church badly damaged but still standing, as though protected by either divine grace or ancestral memory.
Panchimalco is a place where stories are carved into stone, where the past whispers through the trees, and where even the devil leaves a trail you can follow.
So whether you come here for history, for legend, or just for the amazing views, Panchimalco does not disappoint.
Stay curious, be inspired, find freedom, wander elsewhere. I'll see you in the next one.